The Dragon's Secret. Leo brushed aside a thick vine as he stepped deeper into the heart of the ancient ruin, his torch flickering in the dense, damp air. For months, he had been searching for something, anything, that would explain the eerie energy that pulsed through this forgotten place. He had heard whispers from scholars, stories of a place lost to time, a place that even the bravest adventurers dared not explore. The world had changed. Magic had faded, and along with it, the great beasts of legend. The dragons, once the mightiest creatures of all, were little more than stories told by firelight. Or so the historians claimed. But Leo had always doubted that. A sudden shift in the air made him pause. His pulse quickened, and he felt it, an inexplicable pull, as if the very earth beneath him was urging him forward. Following the path of cracked stone, he found himself at the edge of a massive chamber. The space seemed to open up before him like the jaws of an ancient beast, and in the center of it all lay an enormous egg, half buried beneath layers of broken stone. It was no ordinary egg. The shell shimmered faintly, a mix of gold and green that seemed to change with every shift in the torchlight. Leo approached cautiously, awe and fear fighting for dominance in his chest. He knelt down, brushing the dust away, revealing more of the egg's surface. It felt warm, as if alive. "This is impossible," Leo murmured under his breath. He knew enough of legends to recognize what he had found. A dragon's egg. But how? How had it survived all these centuries? His hands trembled as he reached out, touching the egg's surface. A jolt of energy ran through his fingertips, making him draw back with a sharp intake of breath. It was alive, indeed. The egg began to tremble beneath his touch, and with a crack, a small fissure appeared in its surface. Leo stumbled back, his heart hammering in his chest as he watched, transfixed, as the egg slowly began to hatch. Out of the golden shell emerged a creature so stunning, so magnificent, that Leo could scarcely believe his eyes. A dragon, though unlike any he had ever heard of or imagined. Its scales glimmered like polished gold, and its eyes, vast and unblinking, seemed to stare directly into his soul. The dragon stretched its wings, and the air itself seemed to hum with magic. Leo's mouth went dry. A golden dragon, one of the rarest and most powerful beings known to the ancient world. And it was here, in front of him, looking at him as though it had known him all its life. The creature blinked once, then made a soft, low sound, almost like a purr. Leo couldn't move. He wasn't sure if he was terrified or enthralled, but he couldn't look away. The dragon's gaze never wavered. It extended its long, slender neck toward Leo, and with a gentle motion, nuzzled against his hand, as if seeking comfort or reassurance. He could feel the warmth of its body, the strength beneath its fragile-looking exterior. His instincts screamed that this was no ordinary animal, but something more. "You're real?" Leo whispered, his voice hoarse. The world felt like it had shifted beneath him. The dragon's eyes seemed to glow with an understanding that surpassed the bounds of language, and a strange connection washed over Leo. It was as though they had always known one another, as though their fates were intricately woven together. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. He had heard tales of dragons bonding with humans, of their power and magic intertwined, but he had never believed it could happen, until now. It didn't take long for Leo to realize that his discovery had set something much larger into motion. Days later, while making his way through the dense forest with the dragon perched on his shoulder, the first sign of danger arrived. A group of cloaked figures emerged from the shadows, their eyes gleaming with cold hunger. They had been watching him for days, waiting for the right moment. But Leo didn't know that. All he knew was that the quiet forest had suddenly become a trap. "You found it," one of the figures hissed, his voice low and menacing. "The dragon. Give it to us, and we will spare your life." Leo's heart thundered in his chest, and the dragon let out a warning growl, its wings unfurling in a flash of golden light. It was clear that this was no ordinary group of hunters. They were sorcerers, powerful ones, and they had come for the dragon. Leo's eyes flickered between the figures, his mind racing. He couldn't let them take the dragon, not after everything they had already been through. And yet, even as his resolve hardened, he knew he wasn't powerful enough to fight them. "You will regret this," Leo said, though the words came out in a whisper. The dragon's eyes locked onto his, a strange confidence rising from its depths. The sorcerers moved swiftly, but the dragon acted even faster. A burst of flame erupted from its mouth, catching the nearest sorcerer off guard. The heat was so intense that it singed the air itself, the very ground beneath them cracking open. Leo scrambled back as the dragon soared into the air, its wings beating with a power that seemed to shake the very earth. The sorcerers were caught off guard, scrambling to cast spells, but they were too slow. The dragon's flame consumed the first sorcerer, and the rest scattered, retreating into the trees with fearful cries. The moment was over as quickly as it had begun. The forest fell silent once again, but the danger had not passed. Leo stood, his breath coming in shallow gasps as he stared at the dragon, whose golden eyes now gleamed with quiet strength. "What are we going to do?" Leo murmured. The dragon tilted its head, its gaze never leaving his face. It seemed to understand, to share in the weight of the decision before them. Leo's mind raced. He couldn't stay here, not with the sorcerers now hunting them. And he couldn't go back to his old life, not when he had this bond, this connection to something so ancient and powerful. The dragon's gaze softened, and Leo finally made his decision. "We have to find your home," he said softly, "wherever that may be." The journey ahead was long, perilous, and filled with challenges. Leo knew it wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that there was no turning back. As they traveled together, crossing continents and enduring hardships, the bond between him and the dragon grew stronger with each passing day. In the deserts of the south, they faced hordes of dragon hunters, their weapons forged with magic meant to subdue the ancient creatures. In the mountains of the east, they encountered creatures born from the darkest of spells, twisted monstrosities that sought to devour the dragon. But through it all, Leo and the dragon fought side by side, relying on each other's strength, trust, and magic. Over time, Leo began to realize that the dragon was more than just a rare creature. It was a key to something far greater, something that stretched back to the dawn of magic itself. As their journey took them to forgotten temples and hidden realms, Leo learned that the dragon's home was not simply a place. It was a source of magic, a wellspring that had the power to restore the balance of the world. But they were not the only ones seeking it. In the distant north, a great sorcerer had risen, one whose power was rooted in ancient magic. His interest in the dragon was not one of curiosity, it was one of control. The sorcerer believed that if he could capture the dragon, he would become the ruler of all magic, a being of unimaginable power. He sent his minions after Leo, after the dragon, determined to bring them back alive. As the final confrontation approached, Leo and the dragon faced their greatest test yet. The magic that bound them together had become something more, something that transcended mere connection. They were a part of each other now, their fates intertwined in a way that no one, not even the sorcerer, could unravel. The battle that followed was fierce, filled with fire and fury. But it was not just physical strength that won the day. It was the bond between Leo and the dragon, the understanding that they were meant to fight together, to protect the world they had sworn to defend. In the end, the sorcerer fell, his plans unraveling as the dragon's magic surged through the land, restoring balance. Leo stood beside the creature, his heart filled with pride and gratitude. And as they finally reached the dragon's homeland, a place of ancient power and untold beauty, Leo realized the truth. He had not just found a dragon. He had found a purpose,